Hey, what's up you guys? How y'all doing today? Listen, if your name is Sean Combs, if your name is Puff, if your name is Diddy, that gavel just cracked one more time on your empire, and this time it cracked all the way through the front door of a $55 million mansion. Y'all, the house is gone. Star Island. Waterfront. The one Diddy tried to hand a federal judge like a golden coupon in exchange for his freedom. Sold. Off market. Signed, sealed, and out of his name. And I have the receipts, I have the paperwork, I have the timeline, and honey, I have the questions, because this deal is not what his people want you to think it is. Okay, so let me put y'all down on some tea real quick, because the framing on this story out here is wild. Every headline you're going to see today is going to say something like, Sean Combs voluntarily parts ways with his beloved Miami estate. Voluntary. Voluntary my whole entire foot. Let me tell you what actually happened, because when you look at the paperwork, when you look at the court filings, when you look at the timeline stacked up next to his actual legal situation, this was not a man calmly deciding it was time to downsize. This was Puff getting walked to the closing table with his hands behind his back. Not literally, but you know what I mean. Now, before we get into the mess, let me set the stage, because a lot of y'all are new here and a lot of y'all forgot the details. Star Island is not just some cute little Miami neighborhood. Star Island is one of the most locked down, gated, guarded, generationally wealthy zip codes in the entire United States. This is where Gloria and Emilio Estefan lived. This is where Shaquille O'Neal has had property. This is where Jennifer Lopez has walked through those gates. This is where Rick Ross just recently scooped up a place next door, knocked the old house completely down, and started fresh with something even more insane than what was already there. That is the caliber of neighborhood we're talking about. This is old money meets new money meets please don't look at my tax return money. And our friend Diddy? He wanted a seat at that table so bad you could taste it in the cologne. He bought this specific estate from Gloria and Emilio Estefan back in 2021 for $35 million. 35. And then, because Diddy does not know how to leave well enough alone, he poured what people are saying was tens of millions more into it. Renovations. Upgrades. Custom finishes. Waterfront everything. By the time he was done, you had 1.3 acres of prime Biscayne Bay land, roughly 240 feet of private water frontage, a resort-style pool, a private dock, a guest house, a spa, a basketball court. Outdoor entertainment areas designed for parties I don't think we're legally allowed to describe on this channel, and views of the Miami skyline that could make a grown woman propose to a piece of real estate. On paper, this was the crown jewel of Sean Combs' whole entire life. And here's the thing. Here's the part that always kills me. He was, at that moment, the perfect brand. Everybody loved him. The public loved him. The industry loved him. Politicians loved him. Award shows loved him. Star Island loved him. The neighborhood was fine with the man. The gates opened. The private security waved. He was that guy. He was the sample, the mold, the blueprint. Puff walked around like he had cracked the American code. And I have to be honest with you, from a real estate perspective, from a branding perspective, from a legacy perspective, he had it. He had it. And then he lost it. And now the mansion is gone. And there's a reason. And it is not the reason his PR team is going to feed you. If you love when I actually crack open these celebrity real estate stories the way nobody else is doing it, do me a favor real quick. Tap the like, hit the subscribe, and stay with me, because the receipts on this one are stacked, and we're about to walk through every single one of them. So, fast forward to when the sky started falling for our friend. September 2024. Federal agents come through both of the Combs properties. Both of them. The Los Angeles house and the Miami house. And when they came through Star Island, it was not a discreet little knock on the door. It was a whole scene. Helicopters, boats, agents on the dock, neighbors watching from behind their palm trees like, girl, what is going on over there? And in that moment, the mansion stopped being a mansion. It became a headline. That property, from that moment forward, was permanently attached in the public's brain to one word, and it was not luxury. It was not prestige. It was not exclusive. It was scandal. And once a mansion catches that reputation, baby, it does not wash off in the rain. Now, this is where things get interesting, and this is where I want you to pay very close attention, because this is the part every other creator is glossing over. Somewhere in between the raid and the arrest and the bail hearing, his people, and let me be very specific here, because they keep trying to say it wasn't him, it was the LLC, it was the company, okay, but the company is Diddy. Not Tisa, but Tisa's company that's run by Tisa and owned by Tisa. Yeah, okay, sure. So his people, meaning him, quietly went and paid off almost $19 million in remaining mortgage on that Star Island house. $19 million. In cash. Poof. Wiped clean. Why? Well, in his mind at the time, the answer was very simple. A debt-free mansion is a much stronger asset to pledge as collateral. If you're trying to convince a federal judge to let you sit at home on house arrest instead of in a federal cell, you don't want to walk in there and go, well, technically I owe the bank $19 million on this, but trust me. No. You want to walk in there and go, look, judge, this is mine, free and clear, $55 million asset. Sign the paper and let me go home. That was the plan. And the plan was bigger than just the house. The legal team stacked this into a $50 million bail package. $50 million. That was the offer. Star Island as the centerpiece. Family members co-signing. Restrictions. Monitoring. The whole song and dance. And the judge looked at all of it, looked at Sean Combs, looked at the charges, looked at what he allegedly had access to, looked at the pattern of behavior, and said one word. No. Denied. Y'all, that moment right there. That was the moment the mansion changed. Because up until that hearing, that Star Island estate was still a luxury property. It was still one of the most desirable homes in Miami. It was still a symbol of what Sean Combs had built. But the second that judge said no, the mansion stopped being a home. The mansion became evidence. The mansion became a chapter in a federal case. The mansion became the thing they tried to trade for a man's freedom, and it was rejected. And any real estate broker in the entire state of Florida will tell you the exact same thing. The second a property carries that kind of story, the value on paper stays the same, but the value in the market? Honey, the value in the market has a whole different conversation with itself. Now, let's talk about what actually just happened at that closing table, because this is where the story gets messy in a way that is almost embarrassing. A buyer showed up. Real buyer. Serious buyer. Cash on the table for a $55 million off-market deal. And through the company, allegedly LLC, whatever they want to call it, but come on, the man at the last second tried to back out. He tried to slow walk the closing. He tried to hide behind an arbitration clause. He tried to argue that the whole thing should be confidential. He tried to keep this house. Why? Well, my theory, and this is just Tisa's opinion, but Tisa's opinion tends to be pretty accurate around here. My theory is that he sat down, ran the numbers, looked at the $55 million offer, looked at his current tax situation, looked at his current legal fees, looked at the pardon-shaped rejection he just took from the White House, and had a moment where he thought, wait a minute. If I sell this, I'm liquid, but I'm also without leverage. If I keep this, I'm broke on paper, but I'm still Diddy of Star Island. And I think in that moment he tried to slam the brakes. But the buyer? The buyer wasn't playing. The buyer filed. Publicly. Preemptively. Because they knew a squirm was coming. And the court, and this is the part one love, the court said, nah, boo. You signed. You're closing. And Sean Combs had to sign those documents from a place I don't think we're allowed to describe in detail. $55 million. Gone. Off market. Handed to a buyer who financed roughly $18.5 million of it through a bank out in San Diego and dropped the rest in equity. Which, by the way, if you know how these deals move, that spread tells you something too. It tells you the buyer probably got that house a little under true market, because when you're standing across the table from a seller in that situation, you're not paying retail. You're paying what the seller needs to make the pain stop. Now, here is where I want to pause and get honest with y'all, because there is a version of this story where you feel bad for the man. There is a version. Some of y'all, and again, I don't know why y'all are on my channel, but some of y'all are going to hear he sold his mansion and think, ah, poor Sean. Baby, please. Please. This is a man who bought this house for 35, sold it for 55, and is walking away with more money than most people will see in 10 lifetimes. This is not a hardship story. This is a consequence story. And there is a very big difference between the two. Because let's look at what 55 million buys him right now. 55 million buys legal fees. 55 million buys appellate lawyers. 55 million buys quiet settlements to the people who are still lining up with civil cases. 55 million buys radio spins for Young Miami's next single, wherever she is right now. 55 million buys time. And in this world, time might be the only currency left that actually works for him. Because let me tell y'all something. He is not getting brand deals right now. He is not getting sponsorships. He is not getting Ciroc money. He is not walking on stage at any award show. The revenue streams that used to feed the machine are shut off. He is in a position where he has to eat his own house to keep the lights on. And that is exactly what just happened on Star Island. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and look at what he actually still has, because I know some of y'all are curious. Diddy still owns the property next door. Yes, the other Star Island parcel. So if any of the neighbors are, of a particular disposition, if any of the neighbors want to peek through their hedges and see if there's any strange activity, any old Johnson and Johnson coming out of retirement, any late night deliveries, you now have a front row seat because that parcel is still on the books. Which, side note, tells you a lot. If he really wanted out of Star Island permanently, if he really wanted to walk away from that scandal-attached corner of Miami, why keep the second one? He didn't. And that tells me the man still thinks he's coming back. He still thinks the comeback tour is real. He still thinks there's a version of the future where he walks back through those gates like nothing ever happened. But here's the problem with that fantasy. Here is the part he is not saying out loud, and here is the part his team is not putting in the press release. When you want back into a neighborhood like Star Island, when you want back into any ultra-exclusive, gated, generational wealth enclave in this country, the neighborhood has to want you. He doesn't get to just buy his way back in. That's not how these zip codes work. These zip codes have HOA politics that would make the mafia blush. These zip codes have neighbors who quietly kill deals over dinner. And right now, our friend has the kind of reputation these neighborhoods actively try to filter out. Rick Ross can buy on Star Island. J-Lo can live on Star Island. Shaq can vacation on Star Island. Sean Combs? He might be the last name that gets flagged the second his LLC tries to bid on anything in that zip code again. Now let's talk about the mansion itself one more time, because I want to make sure you understand what he actually just gave up. This house is not just square footage. This house is not just marble and glass and imported wood. This house is 1.3 acres of coastline in a city where coastline is more valuable than gold. This house has roughly 240 feet of private waterfront in a market where every extra foot is a fresh six-figure line item on the appraisal. This house has an outdoor entertainment complex that could host a small country's Independence Day. This house has a resort-style pool, a private dock deep enough for a real boat, a spa, a basketball court, a guest house that is bigger than most people's actual houses. And from what we saw in that recent docuseries, he used to walk up and down that dock like he was the mayor of Miami. Remember? Remember him pacing that dock while KK was sitting there in the corner looking scared, sad, and confused all at the same time? He was walking up and down like he was in control. Like the whole thing was under his thumb. He had no idea, absolutely no idea, that the very same dock was going to end up in federal filings. That's the real story of Star Island for this man. It was never really about the house. It was about the illusion. And when the illusion cracked, the house went from being the flex to being the receipt. And speaking of receipts, because y'all know we don't move around here without them, I want to walk you through the legal timing on this, because the fact that this sale closed literally days after the White House said, "No, we're not going to pardon Sean Combs," is not a coincidence. It is not. His camp had been floating that pardon rumor for months. They had people whispering, they had allies posting, they had that whole quiet campaign trying to make it feel inevitable. And when it did not land, when the answer came back short, cold, And no, the financial runway suddenly got a lot shorter. That mansion had to go. Not, would be nice to sell. Had to. And the buyer knew it. The court knew it. And that's why, when Diddy tried to wiggle out at the closing table, the judge basically said, "Sir, sign the paper." Now, some of y'all in the comments, because I already know how y'all are, some of y'all are about to say, but Tisa, at 55 million, isn't he winning? No. Here's why. He bought this thing at 35. He poured what has been reported to be double-digit millions into renovations. He paid off almost 19 million in mortgage right before the bail hearing. So when you actually run the math, 35 plus renovations plus the 19 million payoff plus taxes plus closing costs plus attorney fees plus the fact that this deal probably closed under peak market, he is not printing money on this sale. He is trying to break even on his own legend. That's a very different thing. And this is the part one want to sit on for a minute because I think it's the real lesson underneath the real estate. Sean Combs bought this house believing that a big enough mansion could protect a man. He believed that a private dock, a private security team, a private neighborhood, and a private fortune would insulate him from every consequence he was allegedly stacking up. And for a long time, it did. That's why Star Island exists. That's why these zip codes exist. They are literally designed to keep the outside world outside. But nothing, no gate, no HOA, no $35 million down payment, no $55 million collateral offer, nothing could stop what was already inside the house. And that's what makes this sale so heavy. The man didn't sell a home. He sold the last physical piece of the story he was trying to tell about himself. That's what really changed hands here. And I promise you, the new buyer knows exactly what they bought. Off-market deal, financed through a smaller regional bank, quiet closing, no press tour, no listing photos on the MLS, no drone flyover on the real estate Instagram accounts. This buyer wanted this house because it is a beautiful piece of real estate, yes, but also because there is a whole conversation about legacy property when a name like Sean Combs is attached to it, positively or otherwise. It doesn't have to be pretty. It has to be historic. And baby, the mansion Diddy tried to trade for his freedom is about as historic as celebrity real estate gets in this decade. Now let's talk about what comes next, because our man is not done. He is going to move. He is going to try to reinvent. He has 5 years of federal probation ahead of him. 5. Which, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I am not a lawyer, I just play one on the internet. But 5 years of federal probation means you cannot use certain substances, you cannot own certain items, you cannot associate with certain people, you cannot travel freely without approval, and you certainly cannot host the kind of gatherings that used to make the brand what it was. All the little activities that were allegedly happening behind those Star Island gates? Yeah, those are off the table now. So even if he did buy back into a Star Island caliber neighborhood tomorrow, the lifestyle that made those mansions famous in the first place is legally paused. Which means whatever house he buys next is going to be a very different kind of house. Not a party palace. Not a headquarters. Not a stage. Just a house. And I don't think this man knows how to live in just a house. I really don't. So here's where I land on this whole thing, y'all. This Star Island sale is not a real estate story. It's not even really a celebrity story. It's a power story. It's the story of what happens when a man builds an empire on the assumption that money and property will always outrun accountability, and then one day, in one Miami courtroom, the paper catches up. He tried to use this mansion as bail collateral. Denied. He tried to hold on to this mansion after the sale was already in motion. Denied. He tried to reframe the sale as voluntary. The paperwork says otherwise. And he tried to convince the public that a $55 million payday means he is still winning. The math, honey, the math says he's just funding the next round of a fight he is already losing. And that is exactly why this specific address on this specific island, in this specific city, will be talked about for years. Some celebrity mansions become famous because of the architecture. Some become famous because of the parties. Some become famous because of who lived there before. This one becomes famous because of what happened after. This one becomes famous because of a bail hearing that didn't go the way the lawyers promised. This one becomes famous because it is the mansion that could not save Sean Combs from himself. And listen, before y'all go, I have to say one more thing, because I know somebody is going to type it in the comments before I even hit upload. Yes, the neighbors on Star Island are already talking. Yes, the buyer's identity is being kept intentionally quiet, off-market for a reason. And yes, there is a whole second act to this story involving the other Star Island property Diddy still owns, and what happens to that one when the civil suits really start firing off. I promise you, that piece of land is not going to sit quietly for long. If you want that breakdown, if you want that follow-up, the video is going to be right up there. Click it, watch it next, because that one gets even more insane than this one. But for now, that is the story of how a $55 million Star Island mansion, once bought from Gloria and Emilio Estefan, once photographed like a magazine cover, once pitched to a federal judge as collateral for a man's freedom, quietly walked out of Sean Diddy Combs' name and into somebody else's, while the man himself sat behind bars, on probation paperwork, and watched his last big move on the Miami skyline sign itself away without him. Star Island survives. The neighborhood moves on. Rick Ross keeps building. J-Lo's memories stay intact. Shaq's stories stay legendary. But this address? This one carries a new chapter now. And it wasn't written by an architect. It was written by a courtroom. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the man actually got played on this sale? Or do you think he walked away with exactly what he wanted? Do you think Star Island lets him back in one day? Or is Diddy locked out of that zip code forever? And most importantly, what do you think that new buyer really bought? A house? Or a headline? Drop it below. I'm reading every single one. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and I will meet you at the next one because trust me, this Sean Combs real estate saga is not even close to done. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.